Ladies and gentlemen, it's a real honor to invite this wonderful guest speaker today. For the last 15, 16 years of my professional career, I have always known him to be one of the most knowledgeable authors and independent writers around. He has written many travel guides of Rajasthan, Gujarat, Goa, Kerala, Southern India. His coffee table books are a real, famous coffee table books. उन्होंने गुजरात के 50 golden destinations के ऊपर coffee table book लिखी है, and he has also got a national award for the same. Well, very interestingly, when I first spoke to him and I gave him this idea, he took around 35 minutes to explain me that how we should be knowing something about intangible heritage. His forte is into the field of architecture, arts and crafts, food, and folklore. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Shri Anil Mulchandani, for whom heritage means lot many more things that we can see with our naked eyes. So I welcome Honorable Anil sir to share his thoughts, please. Anil Mulchandani sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just tell me if you can't hear me because I'm a little soft spoken, very soft spoken. Okay, right now I'm clear. Okay, so Subhojit was talking about what I told him about intangible heritage. So personally, as a child, I was fortunate. Grew up in a business family, so I got to travel a lot, and I don't know. I had a sort of an affection for old world charm, for history, for heritage, for archaeological sites. And once I wanted to be an archaeologist also, but being in Ahmedabad, I didn't get guidance on what I should study. And yeah, that apart, so I have also, like Murli, stayed in a lot of heritage hotels, and I was the historian for royal families and palaces of Gujarat. The first coffee table book on specifically on palaces of Gujarat. So that's one aspect. Now, I always, coming from a business family, I had stayed in a lot of heritage hotels in Mount Abu, Udaipur, Puri, also the VNR, which is the British Nagpur Railway. But I got a holistic view of heritage hotels, of what heritage is in 1992 when I visited Kutch. In those days, Kutch was a very little known destination. And fortunately, at that time, the Ran Utsav was being conceptualized. So they had done in '92, they had done a trial, and I joined a tour which was visiting that. And that is when I realized that heritage is not just built heritage. It is not just staying in the Lake Palace or staying in Rambagh Palace or going and seeing Konark Temple, but it is about uh, culture, it is about people, it's about nature. So there is natural heritage, there is cultural heritage, and there is built heritage, and many other forms of heritage. So in Kutch, I wrote my article, and that was published in Signature, which was brought out by Business India. And in that article, I specifically talked about intergenerational skills. So, how handicrafts are passed on from generation to generation, how they are part of the community's heritage, and what should be done for them. And people were shocked because people knew about Rajasthan, but nobody knew about Kutch. So, I got a lot of letters in those days. There was no email, so I got a lot of letters saying, "Where is this place? Is it in Rajasthan? Where is it? What is it?" So, what I personally believe is that the problem with protecting heritage in India is that it is a very elitist concept. So, when people talk about heritage, they are talking about archaeological sites that are closed for people. Lot of our archaeological sites are not even open for visitors. Or you're talking about some royal families, palace, or you're talking about some ancestral property. So, how does a common person connect to it? He does not, because for him or her, this is something that certain rich people are talking about that this should be preserved for its beauty, or there are some people who are lucky to have inherited a property or be able to afford to buy a property. So personally, that is why I was talking about intangible heritage. That we have to involve. We have to involve the common person, the average person. By common person, I mean not in a derogatory sense. And the person who is not, who does not own a heritage property, or a person who is not working in a department related to a heritage property. So we have to involve them, and heritage has to be about livelihood. So if we have a beautiful heritage, so if we talk about Lothal, I wrote about Lothal in Harappa.com, and I am proud to say that after that the number of international visitors to Lothal went up. Varun Maira, who was then in tourism, said that this site has resulted in 600 Japanese tourists coming to Lothal. So, but Lothal is for an average person, it's a boring place. There is no, there is very little that they can see there. What it has to be understood, not seen. But the museum also is okay. It is a nice collection of artifacts, but not much that a common person connects to it. So, what I personally feel is if we take a site, say let's take Lothal. Now we are talking about your concept. So even traditional games are also heritage, right? What you are talking about, bachpan ke cheezo karo, that is also heritage, right? That is also, the traditions are also passed on, whether it is gilli danda or kabaddi or the akhada ka mat wrestling, mud wrestling. They are all passed down through generations. So they are also part of our heritage. So what I feel is if you have an archaeological site, you have Havelis, you have everything, that is a beauty that will attract people to visit. But together with it, the intangible heritage. So the handicrafts that people produce, the stories that they have to tell, the anecdotes that they can relate, the food that they prepare, every recipe is also heritage, right? What your mother has learned from her grandmother or mother-in-law is also heritage, right? What your children are learning from you is also heritage. So heritage has to go out of being just an elite thing. Yes, you need that glamour element to attract the tourists to come. So you talk about the exotic. I have also been, you can say, writing a lot about it. I think more than 1,000 articles of mine have just been on small self-sustaining heritage property. But that's one part of it. What we have to think is a whole holistic picture. How can people earn from heritage? So if you have local, maybe we can start a restaurant there, which is based on the ingredients that were used by the Harappan civilization, and have a good interpretation center, good washrooms. The interpretation center can, in an interesting way, through stories, through artwork, talk about the civilization, explain it to a layman, to a child, to a person, even a semi-literate person, what is the wonder that was that civilization? Why we should be proud of having of being one of the cradles of world civilization, right? You can again have a Kathiawadi restaurant where you get the food of that area. There used to be, I don't know if it's still there, there was a Gundi ashram where they used to produce handlooms, khadi. So all that kind of thing should be part of a destination. So what I believe is heritage is about a holistic picture where the built heritage goes along with the culture, goes along with the community, gives opportunities to people to work as guides, to sell their art, to sell their handicrafts, uh, showcase their food. So in recent years, I started reading up on food heritage, and it is very interesting to know that there is very little body of work on the history of food in India. Like I could find only three, four authors who have really researched it. But it's so much part the way the undio is made, the way the boras. So we have started something called FEA, which is Food Entrepreneurs Alliance, where we have connected up restaurants, chefs, everybody, and we are taking them to different places where they are understanding what is the Dawoodi Bora food in the context of the Havelis of Sitpur. Madhav Bagh that Murli showed, I took a group of food bloggers there, and they talked about how the Maratha food history, which is also very fascinating because Marathas ruled a vast area from Gwalior to Tanjavur, and even their wives were from places like Nepal or Kuch Bihar. So all those cultures have also amalgamated there. So I think what we need to do as enthusiasts, as people who want to bring heritage into limelight, that we need to make a holistic destination picture, pick up a few pilot places. So, like recently, somebody came to with the idea that uh, Paldi has a lot of Art Deco period houses of 1930s, 40s, you know. So, just like the walled city of Ahmedabad, that can also be a heritage area, heritage zone, and maybe we can have art cafes there, we can have restaurants there, we can have heritage homestay there. So, in similar manner, and then you already have the Sanskar Kendra and NID and Pochrab Ashram and things in that area. You have Muslim neighborhoods, you have Jain neighborhood, you have Hindu neighborhoods. So, whole heritage precinct could be built around it, which I thought was a very good idea. So, I think with positive Zindagi, let us take this forward that heritage is not only built heritage. Heritage is everything holistic: the food, the culture, the lifestyle, the folklore, the stories, the dance, the music, and it has to finally, in a country like India, where if it is to be a priority, it can only be a priority if you cannot have, because the archaeological survey we have thanks to the legacy of people like Lord Curzon, but most of those monuments are not even open to visitors. They are not accessible to senior citizens because there is no wheelchair, no ramp. Many of them don't have guides. Only I think a small percentage gives back, earns even earns ticket money for the survey. So I think the heritage hotel homestay is one side of it. The built heritage or the archaeological heritage, the artifacts, the physical heritage. Along with it, we take the people along. It should not be that heritage is only about a former royal families or former aristocratic families who have inherited property. So I think if we start with Ahmedabad, we have a lot of heritage properties here also, which are now open to guests. And we are talking about culinary heritage. So in Diwan's bungalow, which was owned by the Diwan of Radhanpur, they are serving certain dishes that are 150 years old or more. And similarly, you have House of Mangaldas, you have French Haveli, you have Doria Haveli. So Jagdeep Mehta's Haveli, Jagdeep Mehta's Haveli is projecting a lot of culture of Gujarat. So a whole circuit can be made where these heritage properties can be the places to stay and eat, but along with it, we involve the various people, their crafts, the matan, pachedi, the different work, the trinkets that they make, the little artifacts they make for temples. We bring everything, the undio they make at home or the farsan they make at home, the old eateries that are there, the new eateries that are there, and make a whole circuit around it. So I think that is what I hope will be my takeaway, the takeaway I'm giving for this thing. That let us plan destination. Recently, we took a trip of bloggers to Dwarka, and we introduced them to various lesser known places in Dwarka, the Bopa Rabari embroidery and applique work, the little known temples, the bird watching sites, the marine life, the scuba diving sites, the Gurudwara at Bet Dwarka, Many people know Bet Dwarka for Hanuman Dandi, but not many people know that the Gurdwara there is also as very historical, or the Dargah there. So you have Dargahs, Gurdwaras, temples on one island. Also a fascinating thing which again needs to be, and then you have the natural heritage of the coral reefs and things. So I think that holistic thing is what I would like that we can take up on an ongoing basis. Maybe pick a few pilot projects and then move on from there. Thank you.